Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are embarking on an absolutely mind-bending journey. We're going to start way up high, looking at the massive global scale of our entire biosphere, zoom all the way down into the invisible microscopic chemistry happening inside plant cells, and then zoom right back out to see how this incredibly elegant process holds the key to the future of human technology. Our topic today, photosynthesis. We're breaking down exactly what it is and exactly how it works. So, let me just ask you a question to kick things off. Have you hanged a plant today? I know, it sounds a little silly, but really think about it for a second. Every single breath you take and every single bite of food you eat, whether it's a potato, a piece of fresh fruit, or even the animals that eat those plants, is entirely solar-powered. Without plants, algae, and certain bacteria, our world would literally run out of oxygen and food. You are alive right now because of the absolute biological magic trick we are about to unpack. And this brings us to a really profound realization. Nearly all life on our planet is fusion-powered. Think about that. A photon of light, created by the intense fusion reactions of our sun, travels 93 million miles through the freezing vacuum of space just to strike a green leaf right here on Earth. That means the energy you're using to walk, to talk, to even think about what I'm saying right now is, at its absolute core, star power. Okay, here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The engine of life. 2. Inside the plant cell. 3. The light-dependent reactions. 4. The Calvin cycle. 5. Plant upgrades, C3 versus C4. And finally, 6. Powering the future. Let's get right into Section 1, the engine of life, how plants fuel the world. So, looking at the absolute foundation of planetary survival. Now, don't let this chemical equation scare you off. We're not just memorizing boring formulas for a test here. This is literally the ultimate recipe for life on Earth. You take 6 molecules of carbon dioxide right out of the air, plus 6 molecules of water drawn up from the soil, and you combine them using the pure energy of light. And what do you get out of it? 1 molecule of glucose, which is just a simple sugar packed with stored chemical energy, and 6 molecules of sweet, sweet oxygen. It is the exact reverse of the cellular respiration that happens in our own bodies when we breathe out carbon dioxide. Moving on to Section 2, inside the plant cell, zooming into the microscopic machinery. To understand how that recipe is actually cooked up, we need to look at a specialized structure called a chloroplast. Think of the chloroplast as the factory floor. Inside this tiny, double-membraned organelle, you have these intricately folded stacks of discs called thylakoids. Just imagine a stack of microscopic pita bread or tiny green pancakes. Surrounding those thylakoid stacks is a fluid-filled space known as the stroma. Keep those 2 locations in mind, the thylakoid discs and the stroma fluid, because they actually host the 2 totally different shifts of our photosynthesis factory. Now, embedded right inside those thylakoid membranes is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a pigment, and its one and only job is to catch those photons traveling all the way from the sun. But have you ever wondered why it looks green to human eyes? Well, chlorophyll is perfectly shaped to absorb the energy from blue and red electromagnetic light waves. Because it completely absorbs the red and the blue, it reflects the green wavelengths right back to our eyes. So when you're looking at the beautiful color of a lush forest, you're literally just seeing the leftover light that the plants didn't eat. All right, Section 3, the light-dependent reactions charging the biological battery. Let's dive into the first major phase of photosynthesis, happening right inside those thylakoid membranes. We call these the light-dependent reactions. Let's trace this step-by-step pathway, which scientists often call the Z-scheme. First up, a photon comes flying in, smacks into a cluster of chlorophyll called photosystem II, and excites an electron so much that it literally leaps right off the molecule. Actually, to replace that missing electron, the plant does something we humans can barely pull off in a multi-million-dollar lab. It splits a super stable water molecule. This incredibly violent microscopic act is exactly what releases oxygen gas as a byproduct. Seriously, every breath you take is just the exhaust from a plant splitting water. As that excited electron travels down a sort of microscopic wire called an electron transport chain, its energy is used to pump hydrogen protons inside the thylakoid disc. These protons desperately want to get back out, so they push their way through this amazing enzyme called ATP synthase, spinning it around like a tiny water wheel to generate ATP, the primary energy battery of the cell. Finally, the tired electron reaches photosystem I, gets zapped by yet another photon, and is used to create a second energy-carrying battery called NADPH. Which brings us to Section 4, the Calvin cycle, the dark reactions of sugar synthesis. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that those fully charged batteries, the ATP and NADPH, now move out of the thylakoids and into the stroma fluid for the second phase, the light-independent Calvin cycle. Now, while this cycle doesn't need direct sunlight, it absolutely cannot run without the ATP and NADPH batteries we just charged up. It starts with carbon fixation. We have this enzyme called rubisco, which, fun fact, happens to be the most abundant protein on planet Earth, and it grabs carbon dioxide right out of thin air and attaches it to a starting molecule. Next, in the reduction phase, we drain our ATP and NADPH batteries to physically rearrange that molecule into a high-energy sugar called G3P. During carbohydrate formation, some of this G3P exits the cycle to become glucose, the foundational food that fuels the entire global food chain. Finally, the remaining G3P is used to regenerate our starting molecules, so the whole cycle is primed and ready to repeat the second another carbon dioxide molecule rolls into town. Section 5. Plant upgrades, C3 versus C4, evolutionary solutions to heat and drought. This is where the story turns into an incredible display of evolution. Plants have had to adapt over millions of years, and they've developed some seriously ingenious upgrades to their operating systems. You see, the vast majority of plants are C3 plants, like soybeans and rice, but they have a major glitch. That all-important enzyme we talked about, rubisco, it's actually pretty clumsy. About 20% of the time, instead of grabbing carbon dioxide, rubisco accidentally grabs oxygen. This triggers a highly wasteful toxic process called photorespiration, costing the plant precious energy. Worse yet, in hot weather, C3 plants have to open their pores wider to get more CO2, causing them to sweat out vital water. Enter the upgraded C4 plants like maize and sugarcane. Nature evolved a brilliant biological workaround. They use a totally different enzyme called PEP, which is highly attracted to carbon dioxide and completely ignores oxygen. PEP grabs the carbon and basically smuggles it deep inside the leaf into specialized bundle sheath cells, where rubisco is kept safely isolated from oxygen. This neat little trick allows C4 plants to keep their pores closed more often, retaining water while thriving in intense heat and drought. And finally, Section 6, Powering the Future, Global Impact and Human Technology. Having looked at the incredibly intricate microscopic machinery of C3 and C4 plants, let's zoom way back out to look at the immense global scale and see how studying this process is quite literally shaping our future. 130 terawatts. Just let that massive number sink in for a second. That is the average rate of energy captured globally by photosynthesis every single year. To put that completely astronomical figure into perspective for you, it is roughly 6 times larger than the power used by all of human civilization combined. The plants outside your window are casually outperforming our entire global energy grid by a factor of 6. No big deal. And because the natural world is so ridiculously efficient at capturing lights, human engineers and scientists are actively stealing these designs. We are currently trying to build artificial photosynthetic reaction centers to generate totally clean energy, like electricity or hydrogen fuel, without producing any pollution whatsoever. Over in the realm of computing, because these photosynthetic reaction centers act basically like microscopic photochemical switches, scientists are using them as blueprints to build molecular-scale computers that process information using light instead of electricity. Talk about a game changer. And even in medicine, scientists are using substances related to chlorophyll that naturally like to cluster inside cancer tumors. Because plants have spent eons learning how to perfectly manage intense light energy, doctors can use these chlorophyll dyes to absorb targeted light waves, literally destroying the tumor from the inside out while leaving the healthy surrounding tissue perfectly safe. So, we've gone from the fusion power of the sun all the way down into the microscopic thylakoid discs and right back out to the absolute cutting edge of human technology. Which leaves us with this final thought. If plants have been silently and efficiently powering the Earth for over 3 billion years, will cracking the code of artificial photosynthesis be the key to powering the next era of human civilization? Next time you look out the window at a simple blade of grass or a massive oak tree, I really hope you see them not just as nice scenery, but as the ultimate, highly sophisticated engines of life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.